Good evening, Freiliche Chaneke. Welcome back to our weekly question and answer series for Anash.org. A question which we received before Shabbos, and I answered it in private because it's Nagaya for Shabbos. Can I put jewelry on the tray where the Manure is placed in order to carry it on Shabbos? And the answer to this question is yes. You could put jewelry or even a challah or a sefer on the tray or on the chair or on the stand where you put the menorah. Then you'll be able to move it on Shabbos, because since when you put something which is more important, more choshev, more worth than the chankelich, the menorah, so therefore it becomes a basis, a holder for something which is not permitted to carry and something which is permitted to carry, which is called in Halacha basis ladover user v'amiter. So then you can move it. Now a challah and a sefer, although it might not be worth as the menorah, but since it's a challah for the Suda Shabbos, the Alter Rebbe has a chshivas like the dover osur, like the thing which is not permitted to move. And the same with a sefer, since it's a holy sefer, has a chashivas, and therefore it makes it for a boss is ladover usav amita. That means a thing which carries things which you can carry and which you cannot carry, and a thing which is made for both you could carry on Shabbos, in order that children shouldn't be able to turn over the Chanukah menorah. I'm just mentioning it, although it's not negay this year anymore, but it's always good to know. Even on the Shabbos table, once if you need to move the tray for any reason, if you put on top of it a gold watch or a challah or something else, then you are be able to move the candles from the table. Next question. Can I light the menorah with propane with a bracha? This is for a question from a Chvar house which makes outdoor menorah lighting, public menorah lighting, and wants to use propane gas for the Chanukah licht to light the menorah. And the answer is no, you cannot use it with propane, because Chanukah has to be from oil. You cannot have propane and you cannot have electric. You can have it, but you cannot make a bracha on it. So you'll have to switch to oil, etc., or candles. Question. Can I light the menorah with oil that was under the bed? The answer is yes. As I mentioned previous shirim, food which was under the bed, the poskim say that it's only like a tchila, you shouldn't put food under the bed. But by the evet, if you put food under the bed, it does not get osir. There is an inyan to be machbar. Some people, tzaddikim, used to be machbar, but strictly halacha, it is mutter to eat. Therefore, the achroinim, the poskim, writes that oil which was under the bed, since strictly halacha, you could eat it, so therefore it does not go into the gather of not to use for a mitzvah, something which is not edible, which is not appropriate. Since it is edible, so therefore you could also use it for lighting the menorah lekitchila. Question. Can we light the menorah in our shul after Plaga Mincha, and after we leave to extinguish it, so when the people will leave, it shouldn't burn anymore, even though it won't burn a half an hour after it says. So basically, they want to light the menorah and daven their mincha ma'ariv, and right after ma'ariv to extinguish it, and basically it won't burn for half an hour after ma'ariv. And the answer is there are some poskim which say no, it has to stay half an hour. But there are other poskim which say that you could it doesn't have to burn once the people go away. The child ships Malama the Hoyel, and other poskim write that since the whole Indian lighting in a shul is persima Issa for the people who come daven, and since the people leave daven, once they leave davening, it doesn't have to burn and you can extinguish it. So therefore, you could rely on the poskim which say that it doesn't have to burn half an hour. If there's a problem of leaving it burn out, let's say it's a problem, you're afraid of a fire or something else. So yes, you could rely on that poskim that it doesn't have to be half an hour. Now, if you could do, it should be half an hour after it says, yes, you should use it. You should leave it. The Moishe Feinsteiniges Moishe holds that has to be after, even if people leave, you should still leave it burn. But if it's a problem for safety, you could rely on the other poskim which say that you could extinguish the Manure and you don't have to leave it burn once people leave davening. Question. Rabbi Oberlander said last Sunday that it is okay if the minyan is a regular minyan outdoors, they could light the menorah. What is the different from this than the public lighting of the menorah? The question is basically, why did I say that a minyan, outdoor minyan, could light the menorah? Because it is considered a shul, because they daven over there steady mincha ma'ariv. And if they don't daven steady mincha ma'ariv, why can't they just light the menorah as if it's an outdoor minyan? As if it's a public lighting? The answer to this question is like this. First of all, there are some poskim which do not allow the public lighting. So basically, even the poskim which do not allow the public lighting, which is basically a minority, but there are some poskim which do not allow public lighting. So therefore I said, even they will agree that in an outdoor minyan you could light, because that's called a shul. And a shul, everybody's maskem that you could light, because that's the tikkun of Chazal that you should light in a shul. So even that poskim will agree that you could light in a minyan outdoors, because it is now considered a shul. But second, in a public lighting, one of the reasons why the poskim agree that you could light outdoors is because there will be a lot of people who won't light the menorah at all. So therefore, it is an inyan to light the public menorah. Versus in a shul menorah, all the people who come to shul will light the menorah, or had lit the menorah, or will light the menorah. So basically, I would say that if it's not considered a shul, you cannot light. A public lighting, you will have people who won't light. So therefore, it is more permissible, because it is for the people who won't light b'chlal at all. But the shul, which everybody will light the menorah, if it wouldn't be considered a shul, not necessarily that the poskim which allow public lighting will allow to light in such a situation. So therefore, I said that since it is considered a shul because you daven over there regularly, so therefore, l'chal hadais, you could light in an outdoor minyan the menorah if you daven there regularly mincha ma'ariv. Okay, so let's get to other questions which is not Chanukah related. From what age till what age is a boy or a girl a shoimer, a protector for Issa yichud? The answer to this question is like this. A girl from 5 years old till 9 years old will be a shoimer for yichud. That means if you have a man and a woman which are not permitted to be together in a house, in a room because of yichud, if there is a girl from 5 years old till 9 years old, she will be a shoimer at least during the day, that it won't be a problem of yichud for the adults. When it comes to a boy, the poskim say it's from 6 years old, but it doesn't stop at 9. Because although till 9 he's the Geder of eine Moiser Atzma Labia. But even though if it's above 9, at least is considered a man, adult, and two men with one woman is also not yichud. So basically, the Nekidus Advorim is that a girl from 5 till 9 will be a Shoimer, and a boy from 6 all the way up. Now, b'shas Chag, you could rely on some poskim which say even a boy is a Shoimer by the age of 5 and up. So even a boy, you could rely on that poskim that from 5. So basically, a boy from 5 and up, and a girl from 5 till 9. Question. Can an opschernish or some sort of haircutting ceremony for a boy be done before he turns 3? The answer is, the Rebbe writes on Kitasiches Heilig Lamed Bais, page 246, that you should not cut a child's hair before he turns 3 years old. And this is also in the Shalshir Sadik Zavoisam. He writes also that you shouldn't cut, even a day before 3 years old, you shouldn't cut the hair of a child. And he says, he brings the pasuk that says, Legaba Orla, on fruits, Shalosh Shonim Arailim, 3 years it should be Orl. That means you cannot eat fruits the first 3 years when you plant a tree. So he says, the same will go also to cutting hair of a child. The first 3 years you do not cut hair, and therefore you shouldn't cut it even 1 day before 3. Push it off a little bit, the Rebbe writes, is not a problem if there is a reason. But to make it before 3 years old, no, you don't make any opscherenish before 3 years old. Question. Why are people lately giving to a bidden ben only 4 coins when the Torah says to give 5 chamishis loan? It's a very good question, and the answer is like this. When the Torah says you should give chamishis loan, 5 slum for a bidden ben, does not mean that you have to give 5 pieces, 5 coins. It is an amount which will come out to the value, the weight of 5 slum of silver, which goes by grams. That means 5 slum of silver, according to the highest shear, will be 101 grams of silver. Now, when you give for the coin, even let's say a Kiddush cup or a candelabra, whatever it should be, which weighs, has in it 101 grams of silver, you could use it for a pindra ben. It doesn't have to be physical 5 pieces. So once upon a time, till it came out the new American Eagle coins from 1986, the coin used to have only 90% of silver. So if you had 90% of silver and it was a troy ounce, which a troy ounce is about 91 grams of silver, so you had to have 5 coins in order to have this amount of 101 gram. So therefore, they used to give 5 coins. Some years, let's say from 1971 to 1978, you had to give about 9 coins because it had only 40% of silver. But most of the years, the old coins had 90% of silver. So therefore, if you gave 5 coins, you had the amount of 101 grams of silver. From 1986, the United States government, the minted coins, which is called American Eagle, and that's 1 troy on silver, which has 99.99% of silver. So if you have 4 coins, you have way more than 101, because if each troy ounce is 31 grams times 4, So you have over 120 grams of silver. So therefore, it is enough to give 4 coins rather than 5 coins. Now, if they will start minting a new coin, which will be bigger, and each coin will have, let's say, 50 grams of silver, so basically you could give only 2 coins. It doesn't have to do with the physical, how many coins it is. It has to be how much silver, real silver, there is in the coin. Therefore, today's day, which basically there is much more silver in a coin, you don't need to give 5 coins, you could give 4 coins. And if a coin tells for a person to give, even from the new coins, 5 coins, you should know it might be a problem of gezel. Because if he doesn't need to give, and a person, if he would have known that he doesn't need to give more than 4, so you're fooling him. So basically, the American coins, which is from 1986, which is called American Eagle, it is enough to give 4 coins. Even 3.5, if you have a half a coin which is real silver, it's probably 3.5 will also fit, but it's not that easy. 4 coins, it is easy to buy, and therefore they give 4 coins. Question: can one wash Nägelwasser and wash for a Moity in a sink full of dirty dishes? This question you have to divide between Nägelwasser, Ma'amachroinam, and water, Netilas Yadayim for Hamoity. So let's first start with Nägelwasser and Ma'amachroinam. In Shulchan Aruch Siman Dalet Siv Ches, the Shulchan Aruch writes that you should not wash your hands of Netilas Yadayim in the morning on the floor, only into a keli, into a vessel. The makar of it is in Zohar HaKudosh. And the Zohar writes that the reason is because if it's on the floor and people will walk on the water, it's very dangerous for the person. Because it is dangerous to walk on the water which a person washed his hands in the morning, because there's a riyach ru on your hands, and when you wash your hands, it goes on the water, and if it spills on the floor, it is dangerous. And this also brings in the poskim, the Kafachayim, and other poskim bring it down. The Mishnah Brira adds on that also that you shouldn't wash your hands on kismen. That means tiny pieces of wood, also because riyach ru, there's a riyach ru, a bad riyach on the water, so automatically, if you're going to walk on it, it's going to be dangerous. And we see a lot of tzaddikim, chassidim, was very, very makpid not to wash their hands, or ma'amachroinam, and regular kelim, which is basically normal kelim. Some poskim write it should be a broken keli. It shouldn't be a regular keli because of riyach ru. And the Sefer Amide Kesef for the Mechaber of the Mesgeres HaShulchan brings down from the Moshe Peshavarskar, is one of the Tamida of the Magid, which he writes that person has to be very, very careful not to that he shouldn't step or Chaz v'Sholem eat or drink any water which has to do with Ma'amachroinam or washing hands in the morning, because most of the illnesses which there is today's day is because they are using a vessel which they use for Nägelwasser or Ma'amachroinam, and they use it to eat and to drink. And even if a person washes it off, it is not kedai, you should use it. So therefore, we see already that the poskim are very, very machmar, that you shouldn't use a keli which you poured Nägelwasser or Ma'amachroinam in it, because it is dangerous mitzat riyach ru. And it says also in Imre Pinchas, B'Shem the Pinchas Koratzer, and in Shulchan Aruch, that you shouldn't use a keli which you used for Nägelwasser or for Ma'amachroinam, anything has to do with eating or drinking. And the Shoimer writes even in the Sefer that even washing will not help. So basically, although some poskim say that it is, if you wash it, it is fine, still, since we see over here that some say that you shouldn't use it even if you wash it, so therefore people are very makpet not to wash their hands negelwasser or mamachroinem in a sink which has any kalim, vessels which you are going to use for eating and drinking. That's about mamachroinem or negelwasser in the morning. But when it comes to netilas adayim for Moity, we don't find this chimra. So although people are makbet on it, and if people are makbet, you never make fun of anything which people are makbet. Maybe there is some kind of makor. I did not find yet from netilas adayim for bread, but at least for negelwasser and mamachroinem, yes, you should be makbet not to use it, not to wash your hands in a sink which has kalim, even if you're going to wash it afterwards. Okay, we're going to stop here, and please join us next week to the next week's shir, and send in your questions to inbox@Anash.org. Good night, a freiliche Chaneke, and have a wonderful week.